Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Verneda Champion, your anti-racism executive producer, producing events for over 20 years. And we are going to have an exciting conversation tonight about whether or not your nonprofit is ready for $1 million event. Now, we know $1 million plus, let's say 7-figure plus. There's a lot of organizations out there that I've had the opportunity to work with over the years that do amazing work, amazing work. Their constituents are greatly impacted by the services that they provide, whether that's in housing or in healthcare or in education, all worthy causes. But as smaller organizations, they are often doing great work, but are unknown in the fundraising landscape. And they want to do $1 million plus in their annual fundraising gala, but they haven't quite gotten there yet. And sometimes there are a few steps that organizations in this place can go through in order to get ready for $1 million plus event. And what do you mean? What do you mean? Why do you have to get ready for $1 million plus event? I want to raise $1 million. Let's just do it. There's some merit to that. There is definitely merit to that. However, there's also a lot of things that you can do to make sure that your organization will succeed in having that first $1 million plus fundraiser. Okay, so let's just tap into a couple of quick tips. All right. So if this is your first time in this space, this conversation is primarily for organizations that are emerging in their nonprofit philanthropic work. And so not so much that that means that they are a new nonprofit organization, but that they are really taking either their fundraising to the next level or even diving into fundraising, particularly for unrestricted dollars for the first time. And there are organizations, there are plenty of organizations in this country who have been doing work for 30 years and have primarily relied on grants or other funding streams and haven't really done the fundraising that particularly allows them to keep the lights on and the doors open as unrestricted dollars versus being tied to a specific program. This conversation is also for our emerging event producers and seasoned producers who are ready to strike out on their own. Perhaps you are the event manager for a nonprofit organization and you have the vision to strike on your own and to be an independent producer, to start your own event production company. This conversation is also for you. So number one, I really like to go through like 3 to 5 points each week that could be helpful. So for our nonprofits this week, are you ready is your organization ready to produce $1 million plus fundraising event? So number one, let's talk about infrastructure. Do you have a few things in place? Do you have the fundraising team in place? Now, it does not have to be a large fundraising team. Like some people think $1 million, and that means you need a team of like 7 of, major donor officers and a VP of external affairs or fundraising or VP of development, and you have your grants writer and you have your, no, it doesn't have to be a huge team, but it has to be a well-versed team. And you have to have a clear outlook on who is in your donor base or what is going to be the cold donor base that you're going to warm up to start bringing in these dollars. So if you have historically had no donor base, or if you have historically had a limited donor base of just like a small group of people who give all the time, then there's going to be a lot steeper runway that you're going to have to overcome in order to successfully fundraise to go from, say, raising $20,000 a year to over $1 million a year. Who is in your donor base in order to raise that money? Who's cold? Who's warm? Who's hot? And do you have the team? Do you have the right team? Because honestly, the right team of 3 people is more effective than the wrong team of 10 people when it comes to fundraising and development. So do you have the right team in place to manage this $1 million goal? The second thing that also ties into who is in your donor base, who is on the board? Do you have a board of directors that is a fundraising board? I cannot tell you time and time again, we could do a whole series just on boards and how the impact that it has on events. But if you have a fundraising board, you have a leg up versus you have a board of directors for that nonprofit organization that is resistant to fundraising or is limited in what they are willing to do towards fundraising for your event. So that is assessment number one. Assessment number one is, do you have the right team in place? Assessment number two is your board on board with having $1 million event in place? And P.S., when it comes to that team, that also includes the executive team. So there is, while it's really important to have the right team in place in your development department, your fundraising department, it is equally, if not more important, that whoever is at the top, the CEO of that nonprofit organization, must be on board and have the vision for themselves for $1 million event to then support the organization and its officers in executing on that event, and then being willing to invest in potential external partners to help bring that $1 million event home successfully. Okay, point number three, vendor relationships. So now we want to go into, do you have the capacity in-house for the logistics of $1 million event, or do you need a few key strategic vendors to be part of it? Now, often I am brought in as the executive producer for events because the in-house capacity either is limited due to all of the work that needs to be done on a daily basis, focus on fundraising, and there's not enough time with the in-house team to focus on logistics, or there's organizations where the fundraising team really is about the dollars and fundraising, and they are not logistic events folks. And so either way, those can be really good matches to understand. But you, as the lead on the vision for this $1 million event, have to know whether or not you have what it takes to execute from a logistic standpoint in-house, or do you need to bring in an external team to support that event getting its legs off the ground? Okay, point number four, and this one, I think that it goes without saying, but do you have the money? Do you have the money to invest in $1 million event? Now, there's a little bit of a formula here. That could be a video on and of itself. When you determine that you want to do $1 million plus, you have to think about the number of attendees that you plan on having in the room. You have to think about your ticket price point. And you also have to think about your donor pool. Do you have a donor pool that's willing to pay that price point, whether that's for individual tickets, which is going to be a very small amount of fundraising is completed on individual ticket sales. It is your sponsorship dollars, those tables and packages that really bring in the money over and above the cost of individual seats in the room, is where the money is really made. So again, when you think about, do you have the money to do this? Do you have the seed money? Have you thought about how much you're willing to spend? But that's the other thing, you know, a lot of times folks don't even think about, what is it that you're willing to invest to raise that $1 million? Are you ready to start with $100,000? Is it going to be an all digital event? And people have done that. There are organizations who have successfully done virtual galas where they cut out all the tables, they cut out all of the venue, all of the food, and just raise money online. If you want to do $1 million online and you have $100,000 budget, more power to you. More than likely, if you're doing $1 million plus and you plan on actually physically having people in the room, you're probably starting somewhere at 250,000 and above, particularly if you're in major markets like a New York City, a Los Angeles, a Atlanta, a Miami. Plan on starting with somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 at a minimum to hit that $1 million goal. And last but not least, do you have a vision for that $1 million event, and who is going to be the ambassador of that $1 million? When it comes to fundraising on the night of the event, who is in the room? Who is on that stage? Who is telling your story? Because at the end of the day, when it's time to make that ask on stage, you should already be somewhere in the ballpark of 75 to even 90% to your goal by the time you get to the night of the room. But when you want to close that last 10 to 25% to cross the $1 million mark, You have to be thoughtful. Who is the talent on stage that night? Who is in the room? Who is the face of your organization? Who is telling the impact that the organization made? Who is pulling the heartstrings? Who's pulling the heartstrings? Who is the person or persons that are going to hit that stage and make it known while someone may have already written $100,000 check to be there, they're going to write another $100,000 check. There's going to be people in the room who are there for free because their company has purchased a table and they work for that company and they haven't spent a dime before they got in there. You want them to take out their checkbook and write their checkbook. You want them to text on their phone. They're individual. Let's talk about analog versus digital fundraising tools in another video. But you want them to feel the pull to donate themselves. So while their company was there, you want the individuals in the room to supplement those corporate tables by, if there's a table of 10 and one person is responsible for the spend at that table, the other 9 people can all be giving anywhere between $100 and $1,000 and $10,000 that night. Let's close the gap. So just a quick recap, we talked about 5 great assessments, first assessments to understand whether or not your organization is ready for $1 million plus event. And as your organization grows, you can do more. Like when you first get started and you are on this road to $1 million event, your talent on stage, it might be local talent, newscasters are also super great starting point to have local celebrities in the room. You will then be able to engage with higher levels of influential public speakers, public figures, and celebrities as you grow up along the way. And then you might be able to cross into the upper echelons of the fundraising world where you're doing $10 million plus and you have A-list celebrities on there. But we have had more than one occasion where a nonprofit is like, we want A-plus celebrity today, but you don't have the infrastructure in place to handle what comes with A-plus celebrity. And everything that comes with A-plus celebrity means handling with their team, preparation. Do you have the programming? Are you ready to show all of your readiness, your infrastructure that makes sense for that celebrity to get behind your nonprofit? If you are not there yet, there's nothing to be down about. It's just knowing that there is a journey to this process of becoming $1 million plus annual fundraising event, and you can get there. If you have more questions, if you want to tap in, if you want to look at an event assessment for your organization, tap in at Verneda Adele across all social channels. You also hit me at info@humanintonation.com where you can get with production by Human Intonation. We're back next Tuesday. This week we were off schedule on Wednesday, but we'll be back on our regular schedule Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Tap in with Verneda Adele, your anti-racist executive producer, and let the world know how you'll use your hot sauce today.